Good afternoon, it's Thursday, December 3. I'm Giovanni Dennis with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching online at onespotmedia.com. There's a call for the government to provide an update to the country on matters surrounding the state-owned oil refinery, Petrojam. There have been numerous calls for those who have been implicated in mismanagement at the refinery to be brought to justice. O'Shane Masters reports.
With the government revenues falling due to the economic challenges caused by the global pandemic COVID-19, there's a call for greater focus to reduce losses from a number of government agencies. The call comes from the Jamaica Accountability Meter portal JAMP, which says for far too long, government entities have been losing cash without any real accountability. Executive Director of JAMP, Jeanette Calder, says data from development agencies suggest that the country loses a minimum of $95 billion a year due to mismanagement, waste, fraud, and corruption. In relation to the Petrojam scandal, Ms. Calder says some update needs to be provided on what is happening to plug the leaks at the oil refinery. The government had said that a forensic audit would be carried out, however, to date, that has not been done. Ms. Calder is recommending that the Financial Investigation Division, FID, carry out such work, even though resources may be limited.
I have the confidence that this government arm should be able to tell us something more than what we know now, which is nothing. So that's the first thing. We would like to see that forensic study done, even by the local competencies that we have. And I think the government needs to come back to us with regards to the matter of procurement. There was gross abuse of procurement processes at Petrojam. What has been done in the last 2 years to plug that?
She is also calling for greater use of the procurement regulations, which were approved in 2018, to be used to bring those responsible to justice.
The country ought to see the government moving to sanction based on the reinforcement that this law provides, because we never had a procurement law before 2015, and we didn't have the regulations until 2018. But that is now in place. So I believe the country wants to see these sanctions being put in place and a clear message being sent, not because we really want to wake up every morning to lock up public servants. No, that's not the motivation. It is because at this point in time, more than any other, we have to really pay attention to value for money and to extracting every bit that we can out of the sacrifices we make as taxpayers.
She says if there isn't a concerted effort to address those issues, it could send a wrong message to investors.
When an investor comes to a country where corruption is rife, he has a difficulty planning. There's an unpredictability about what it will cost to engage the government, because there is that added cost called, how much am I going to have to pay to be facilitated? Investors are looking out for two types of countries, good governance or bad governance. The question is, as we stand here in Jamaica now, what is the message that we're sending to investors? Are we saying to the ones who want good governance, this is where you are to come? Or are we saying to the ones who benefit from weak systems, weak accountability, weak governance, that this is the place to come?
O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
President of the People's National Party, Mark Golding, and newly minted General Secretary Dr. Dayton Campbell have reacted to the leaked telephone conversation of Party Vice President Damian Crawford. Both say the matter will be dealt with internally. Shamila Pullen has the details.
Recently, a 23-minute-long leaked telephone conversation with PNP Vice President Damian Crawford and two ladies surfaced in the media. During the conversation, Mr. Crawford said Mr. Golding's leadership would only be good for the next 2 years. The party leader, Mark Golding, says he has taken no offense. Mr. Golding argues people are entitled to their opinions.
I'm not harboring any permanent grouse against him for having expressed the view that he thought that I was only the right person for 2 years or whatever.
You can look past that, you're saying?
I can look past that,
okay.
And I have done, I mean, I'm the sort of person who, I don't hold grudges, and I understand, that Damien is a person who speaks his mind, but his mind isn't always constant in the sense that his views are, can change as situations evolve. So I believe that, we can work together. And I hope he will learn from this particular experience and exercise a little bit greater restraint in expressing his views on these topics, certainly over any form of medium.
Mr. Crawford also made comments about Southeast St. Anne Member of Parliament Lisa Hanna. In a Facebook post, Mr. Crawford said the conversation was on or around September 11, before the nomination or election for the position of PNP president. He also stated that his views expressed about Lisa Hanna and Mark Golding were said directly to two women he considered friends in a private conversation. He contended that while the conversation was not meant for public consumption, he said nothing anti-party, nor did he levy any concern that has not been asked of Ms. Hanna and Mr. Golding in the public. In the meantime, the party's General Secretary, Dr. Dayton Campbell, says the matter will be addressed internally.
A part of the new approach that we're taking going forward is that matters like this will be addressed internally and will not be discussed in the public domain. And so this evening, I'm quite sorry to disappoint you, but I won't be going into details about this matter. I think it is something that we as a PNP family will have to address internally.
I have reached out to Damien and spoken to him about it. And I've spoken to the person who I think he was talking to at the time. I think that the party will need to investigate exactly what took place there. And, it was a conversation which I think was intended as a private conversation, but through circumstances which I don't want to go into here, resulted in that becoming a public thing. And, we have to understand exactly what took place and make an internal decision around that.
Shamela Pullen, TVJ News.
The number of police officers in quarantine due to exposure to COVID-19 patients has declined to 100. Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson made the disclosure in a press conference on Wednesday.
At one point, we actually had just upwards of 600 officers who had to be quarantined. Fortunately, for the most part, those members were not positive who were in quarantine. And at the moment, that number has been significantly decreased.
In the meantime, opposition leader Mark Golding has announced a 19-member shadow cabinet. Several members of the previous slate of spokespersons have been reappointed and have been joined by two newcomers who were winners in the September 3 general election. And political commentator Shalman Scott has commended opposition leader Mark Golding on his new shadow cabinet, describing the selection as impressive. Mr. Scott says he's encouraged by the mixture of youth and experience.
It is a good start, and I wish to commend the people who have been responsible, including the leader of the party, Mr. Mark Golding, for putting this team together with tremendous experience, as I've said before, and people who have, in some cases, have worked in the respective portfolio areas in the past.
Mr. Scott also commented on Peter Bunting's elevation to the Senate, where he will be leader of opposition business.
I think that by any yardstick, Peter Bunting, as a political figure in Jamaica and also as a businessman, have demonstrated tremendous levels of responsibility in the various fields of endeavor in which he has been engaged. And so he is an appropriate person to be participating and contributing to where Jamaica ought to go.
And we now go back to the news that political commentator Shalman Scott was responding to. Now, opposition leader Mark Golding has announced a 19-member shadow cabinet. Several members of the previous slate of spokespersons have been reappointed and have been joined by two newcomers who were winners in the September 3 general election.
Mark Golding, who will be spokesman on defense, has appointed Julian Robinson, Shadow Minister of Finance, Planning and the Public Service, which was the post held by the opposition leader in the previous shadow cabinet. Trade unionist Lambert Brown will continue to have responsibility for the public service. Lisa Hanna, who recently challenged Mr. Golding for the PNP presidency, is back as the spokesperson on foreign affairs and foreign trade, while Peter Bunting, in addition to being leader of opposition business in the Senate, will shadow the national security portfolio. Anthony Hilton is the spokesman on industry, investment and global logistics. He is also the new leader of opposition business in the House of Representatives. Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, who will serve as the spokesperson on education and training, is now the deputy leader of opposition business in the House. Senator Donna Scott Motley is the spokesperson on justice and gender affairs, as well as deputy leader of opposition business in the Senate. Senator Janice Allen will continue to shadow the tourism portfolio, Dr. Maurice Guy, health and wellness, Senator Damian Crawford, culture and entertainment, and Michael Phillips, housing, transport and works. Denise Daly will continue to be the spokesperson on local government and community development, and Senator Sophia Fraser-Binns, land, environment and climate change, and Philip Paulwell, mining and energy. Political newcomer Lothan Cousins will speak on matters concerning water and agriculture, and Hugh Graham, commerce, science and technology. The Labour, Social Security and Special Abilities portfolios have been assigned to Senator Dr. Floyd Morris, while Senator Gabriella Morris is the spokesperson on youth and sports.
And it's now time for a break here on the Midday News, but please stay with us. We'll have more stories when we return. Welcome back, and we're continuing the news. Another COVID-19 death was recorded in Jamaica on Wednesday. The latest case is a 67-year-old man from St. Catherine. Jamaica's COVID-19 death toll is now 259. Meanwhile, Jamaica's COVID-19 case count is nearing 11,000. The health ministry says a 3-day-old child is among 47 new cases recorded on Wednesday. Now, this increased the country's case count to 10,911. Corporal Rohan James has been elected chairman of the Police Federation. The post became vacant after the previous chairman, Patrick Rowe, was promoted to inspector. Corporal James was elected yesterday by the Federation's Central Committee. And a student was killed and another injured at a shop in Christiana, Manchester last night. Dead is 14-year-old Deshaun Ashley of Tarrant High School in Kingston. It's reported that around 8 o'clock, Deshaun was at a shop with friends where he was picked up by his father. Now, upon leaving, gunmen alighted from a Toyota motor car and opened fire, hitting the teen. The shooters then fled the scene. Now, he was taken to hospital where he was pronounced dead. The father escaped injury. Another teen was also shot and injured in the same incident. He has since been treated at hospital and released. In news overseas, the rollout of COVID-19 vaccines to Americans is expected to begin later this month, but they likely won't be widely available until sometime in 2021. More from the CNN.
The United States surpassed 100,000 COVID-19 hospitalizations Wednesday, the highest since the pandemic began.
People from all walks of life, all ages, are getting afflicted by COVID-19.
7 of the 8 members of Sophia Burke's New Jersey household contracted the coronavirus.
My father died last Tuesday on a ventilator. My mother is home with oxygen, unable to breathe on her own.
Wednesday also saw 3,157 deaths, the highest daily number reported according to Johns Hopkins University.
It is incredibly challenging to be holding the hand of a patient when they take their very last breath because their loved ones can't be with them, and then having to call their loved ones after to tell them they won't be coming home.
Despite progress on the vaccine front, health officials say the next few months will be grim.
December and January and February are going to be rough times. I actually believe they're going to be the most difficult time in the public health history of this nation.
Before it's all said and done, this is going to be basically the bloodiest war this country has ever fought.
News in sports now. New Zealand reached 243 for 2 at Stumps on day 1 of the first test against West Indies in Hamilton on Thursday. The Caribbean side, who won the toss and elected to bowl, removed Will Young for 5 with the score at 14 for 1 after 4 overs. Shannon Gabriel removed Young leg before wicket. This brought skipper Kane Williams into the crease, who shared in a 154-run second wicket partnership with Tom Latham. Kemar Roach bowled Latham for 86 to end the partnership. Now at the close of play, Williamson was unbeaten on 97, while Ross Taylor had reached 31. Day 2 action bowls off at 5 o'clock Jamaica time. There's yet another delay with the confirmation of the affiliates list for the Jamaica Table Tennis Association following weeks of deliberation between President Godfrey Lothian and the challenger Andrew Liu. Renata Brown reports.
On October 3, a source close to the JTTA told TVJ Sports that a final list of between 40 to 50 affiliates would have been approved by October 15. However, 2 months after that initial conversation, TVJ Sports understands that the list is yet to be signed off on by both Lothian and Liu. TVJ Sports also learned that Veteran Sports Administrator Anthony Davis has been overseeing the process as head of the JTTA Resolution Committee. But when contacted on Wednesday, Davis declined to comment on the matter, only noting that the public will be made aware of a resolution once one is reached. Checks by TVJ Sports reveal that the Jamaica Defence Force may be at the heart of the standoff between Liu and Lothian that has led to the delay. It's believed that the JDF has been listed as a paid-up affiliate member under the name JDF Table Tennis Club without authorization from the JDF Sports Board. And this has led to one side opting against signing the list until the matter is resolved. TVJ Sports understands that the decision not to confirm the list of affiliates was made by the incumbent. The list of affiliates have been the center of a standoff since September 2019, when the Supreme Court ruled the annual general meeting and special meeting of the JTTA null and void. The situation reached a climax earlier this year when now presidential challenger Liu took the matter to the Jamaica Olympic Association, who then referred it to the Dispute Resolution Foundation. Since then, both Liu and Lothian have been asked to stay clear of the media until the matter is resolved and a new date for an AGM is set. Renata Brown for TVJ Sports.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Giovanni Dennis. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.